Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Ruth Carter, the Liberty Coach, and tonight I'm here to give you a special parenting live. Over the course of October, I've been giving my gratitude, giving thanks for where I am in my life, for the people that I've come into contact with over the years that have been really, truly instrumental to where I am now. Without them, I don't know where I would be. So I am so grateful that I have had the opportunity, that our paths have crossed along my life's journey. And I am going to continue giving thanks for this month because I was really touched by Mr. Fox at the end of September and our last interaction. But I felt compelled to really start from the beginning. But in doing so, it really has opened up my heart a lot more. And I've been sharing my story and the experiences that I've gone through. Sometimes when you're telling a story, you can be associated in it or dissociated from it. For many years, I was dissociated from the things that were actually occurring in my life and would class it as having a numbing sensation, not able to bear the emotional pain, the hurt that you go through, and even sometimes some of the traumatic experiences that you may face. It is at those times when we are sometimes at our lowest that there are angels around that come and bless our way. And I'm truly grateful to Karen Hillier, an angel of light. That's how I see her, helping loads of mothers and parents on their herbs palsy journey. I am feeling a bit choked because I thought I could get through the blog quite simply, but I realised that it was a really, really difficult time. And many, many parents can associate with that. So it is today that I want to give thanks to Professor Thomas Carlstedt because he has been so instrumental in the journey. It was because of Karen giving me the information that I needed, that I desperately needed at that time, that I was able to take the next steps forward. Sometimes as parents, we don't have all the answers, and we do depend on medical professionals to show us the way because we lack that knowledge. One of the things that I was so impressed by Karen, she's a mum. She's just your everyday mum who just happens to have gone through the herbs palsy experience. And from that, she set up the herbs palsy group here in the UK, a group to help parents like myself, parents who were lost, parents who were confused, angry, frustrated, because you feel like you've been failed, you feel like you've been let down, and you feel guilty because things are not going right. It's just all gone wrong. And last week I had Jackie, Judy, Trusty, and we did share some of the things about the antenatal experience, the rose tinted glass. And I've not gone back in 16 years to have another child, so I do not know currently what the antenatal books say. I, for one, would have wished you would have put in the complications and the difficulties so that parents like myself can prepare ourselves when things go wrong. And a lot of the times we're left to care for children with no support for ourselves or our mental health. I was experiencing depression when I didn't even know what it was. All I knew is how I felt at that time. All I had to do was put my feelings aside, continue to care for my child. So, with Karen's help, I was able to write a letter to the GP with real key points, being specific of the things that I needed and that I required to get the help that I needed from my daughter. I felt that we was not making the progress in the timescales that they had initially sent. I did give it a chance. I gave it an opportunity. I listened to what they said. I gave it 18 months. But at a young age, I had to make decisions. I had to make decisions not just for myself, but in respect of my child that I wish long life for. And how is she going to manage through life with the medical condition Erb's palsy? I certainly had to learn different things from the physiotherapist, simple things on how to dress my child. It sounds so simple because you should know how to dress a child. But when you have a child with Erb's palsy, there are certain steps that you need to take in terms of you've got to be mindful of their limitations and restrictions and just minimizing any discomfort they may be feeling because bottom line it is a nerve injury. So I wrote the letter. I still even have a copy of the handwritten letter I done because I wrote it out so many times, trying to make it perfect, trying to get it right, because I'm going to go to my GP with it. But other people would have posted the letter, but not me. I decided I'm making an appointment and I'm going to sit there in that doctor's surgery while I watch him read my letter that Karen helped me to write. Karen had a wealth of knowledge about the condition and she was able to school me and teach me on what to say and what I wanted the results to be. So I sat in that doctor's surgery and I watched him read the letter. Bearing in mind, we are 18 months down the journey from birth. And he got really upset with me. Like, what am I trying to say? And I wasn't taking no offence to the service that I had received prior, but I was not happy with it. I was not happy with the way that I was being spoken to, treated, dismissed, disregarded, just because I didn't know what Erb's palsy was. I didn't know what shoulder dystocia was. Why would I know? Because I was never taught or told that. And even going through the process, some of the healthcare professionals just dismiss you. They talk as though you're not there, like you're a number. And I can imagine with many parents to see, you can't always take that individual attention. The story does improve because even though I did get kicked out of the doctor's surgery and no longer able to attend my family GP practice, but I had been there since birth, it was okay. I was sitting in a place of rage back then, so I was a little snappy. But after all what I had heard the GP said, I just turned around and said to him, listen, if the cap fits. Those were my closing statements as I walked through the door with my daughter. But thankfully to that GP, he did put through my request for my daughter to be seen by Professor Thomas Carlstedt, who the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital did respond to that referral. And I was so happy when I did get that letter through the post for the appointment. It was some distance away in London from where I lived. And anyone with an Earth's palsy child knows that there are difficulties when it comes to balance and walking. A lot of the steps that they need to take, which are natural development milestones for other children, can be delayed for those children who have Erb's palsy. I do thank everyone that is listening right now. And believe you me, I am all right. This is already a lived experience. But as I go through to say thanks to Professor Thomas Carlstedt, it's important that I share the story. And it is a challenging one for me, but it's something that I've overcome and I've learnt so much from. When we did get to London, it was such a beautiful place to be in terms of the hospital back then. It's nothing like the new build now. Back then, it was like a beautiful gallery with enormous pictures hanging up by the doctor's offices. And there was an area that the children were able to play. And naturally, after that long journey, you're feeling a bit exhausted. So I was happy to take a little breather and allow my daughter to play with the other children that had the same condition as her. It was nice to watch them play, even though you could see them struggling. You can see how resourceful and resilient they were as they made adaptations when they were passing their toys to one another. But that time came when my daughter's name was called. And Mr. Carlstead stood there at the door with a smile on his face, as though he was really pleased to see us. But looking back now, I see that he is a man who really enjoys and loves what he does. I walked into the office with my daughter. I left the buggy out in the waiting area and we sat down. He was very pleasant. He asked us about our journey. He noticed that I didn't live in the area. He asked how I was. I lied. I lied to his face. I told him I was fine. I weren't fine. At that point of the journey, I was far from fine. But I was there. I was in the land of the living. I was there. I was existing, but I was there. And he looked at the file and asked, nicely if I could take my daughter's top off and onto her vest. So as you do, you start with the other arm first, leaving the arms palsy last so that you don't have to move it too much. So I took off her cardigan, took off her top, and we were down to the to the vest. But as I was getting her hand through, pulling her top over her head and pulling it through her Erb's palsy arm, Professor Carlstedt said that your daughter has primary dislocated shoulder and secondary Erb's palsy. I was sitting in the chair, but after I heard that, I fell on the floor. I was bawling. I was crying. I was crying like I had the worst news ever. Because it was the worst news ever. Because I was not expecting to hear that. I knew that my daughter had shoulder dystocia, which is nothing to do with a dislocated shoulder. And later on discovered that she had the condition called Erb's palsy. Professor Carlstedt had not even touched my daughter at this point. He was sitting on the other side of the desk. He gave me a moment, and I'm grateful for that. Because I had to pick myself up off the floor, and then he explained the strategy. I could hear a sense of nervousness in his voice because I was vexed. My head was going, my foot was tapping. I was like, what is going on? Because I asked a question. How comes the consultant from birth, the physiotherapist, and the GP did not know that her shoulder was dislocated? Professor Costa did not respond to my question, but what he did say was, I can perform surgery on your daughter. The only issue is there's a 3-month waiting list. Broken and in despair in that moment, I decided, go for it. Go for the surgery. You know, this is what I came for. I was looking for a second opinion. I trusted what Karen said because she just had that experience. There was only 2 hospitals at the time. There could be more now. I don't know because I've stuck with the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital for the past 20 odd years. But I agreed and I left the hospital very distressed, more so than when I had arrived. So I took that journey back on the underground with buggy, with my daughter on the train. And I was coming up my road, and through my head I was thinking, how the hell am I going to tell my parents that my daughter has a desiccated shoulder? Because I just couldn't imagine what was going to be said. Because as a parent, you feel that guilt anyway. So it's like, oh, it's another thing because, like, you should have known. And how did you not know? And your child had a desiccated shoulder. But I, along with the other professionals, didn't know. And Mr. Carlstedt, or Professor Carlstedt, I should say, seemed to be the only one that knew because his observations were so accurate. I trusted him from that point. But as I was walking up the road, contemplating how I'm going to break the news, my mobile phone began to ring. I heard this Swedish voice saying, "Hello, Ruth." And I said, "Hello," because I didn't know who it was, even though I'd been there like just under 2 hours ago. And he asked if I had reached home, and I said no, I hadn't reached home. But I was in a better position. I wasn't like distressed or distraught at that point. I was, back to on autopilot, getting on with the day, things to do. And he said he had good news for me. Professor Carlson said, I'm going to do your daughter's surgery, and I can do it at the Portland Hospital in 3 weeks' time. My heart, I started crying again. But it was with tears of excitement and joy. He said there would be no cost to me, and if I would be prepared to do that and allow him to do the surgery. I said, yes, absolutely. So as I continued my journey on the way home, yes, I had bad news, but for the first time, I started to have the first piece of good news. Someone that could see my need, see my daughter's need, and step in and intervene and put himself forward to do that. I wanted results. And even though there was a waiting list, he made a way. And for that, I really, really thank you because it was the start of the journey of the success that we see today. So, Professor Thomas Carlstedt, I'm Ruth Carter, the Liberty Coach, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart because whether you took pity on me or not, you saw a need, and with your expertise and knowledge, you delivered. You started our journey in a positive way, and I can say that it continued to grow from strength to strength. Even though you left the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital, you left my daughter's case good hands with other specialist surgeons such as yourself, who is renowned internationally as for your clinical research, for your intervention into nerve disorders. I thank you. I thank you for the repair work that you have done by first placing my daughter's shoulder back, continuing treatment for the Erb's palsy. I thank you. And even though this is not the way I want to present myself to you, Words are not enough to express how I feel about you and your team. And because I have been spending this month giving gratitude, not as though I don't do it on a day to day basis, it is not something that I do publicly, it is something that I just do on my everyday meditation. But that last appointment with Mr. Fox really, really touched me in a profound way where I just felt compelled to give thanks. And as I started to give thanks, people kept coming to my mind and I started writing about the experience. The experience is very, very personal to me because I've had to take many, many steps in order to help myself along the journey. But today I honour you, Professor Carlstedt, with tears in my eyes, regardless. You are a marvellous surgeon, a wonderful man. I do not know you on a personal level, but I feel like I do because of all the help. Even when you left, you continued to help. And when I saw you last, I really wanted to give you a massive hug. A shake of the hand is not enough for the care that you've given and the expertise and the knowledge that you've shared and have schooled me on what you were doing and the procedures and what you would do. And I just thank you because you've helped thousands, probably millions, because you've been cited in so many journals. You've written books on nerve injuries and you've performed surgeries on, I do not know, countless amount of people over the past 30 years. I'm so grateful that my daughter was one of them, and I'm so grateful that as a mother, you saw me and you talked to me and you helped me and you guided me. For that, Professor Carlstedt, I am grateful. I wish you all the best, long life, health, strength for you to continue pioneering your good work across the globe, internationally. I thank you. So that was the essence of my blog today, which I published not too long ago, so you can understand why it took me some time, because it's real experiences. And for anyone out there who has had a child with shoulder dystocia or Erb's palsy and you do not know about the Erb's Palsy Group UK, I really advise you to get in touch. They do have a website and you can contact them, and there is always someone at the end of the phone. Oh gosh. So for that, I'm truly thankful. And I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful weekend. And I hope you have something nice planned. And for me tomorrow, I'm going to spend some quality time with my son because he deserves me. So God bless you all. Thank you for listening to this video live. Take care.